Hikaru with the white pieces, 10 minutes. We have 6 minutes and 45 for Arjun, but Arjun with the black pieces has the draw odds. What have we seen? And it's going to be a repeat, well, almost a repeat of the last game as the bishop comes out. And now we have, again, the light square bishop coming out. And this time Hikaru says, let me keep all the pieces on the board. No trade for you.
Yeah, he doesn't want an equalish type position. He wants a position where he can use Harry and Gary, push those kingside pawns, attack the bishop on f5, try to get some kind of double-edged position, get Arjun in time trouble, and try to win the game that way.
Hikaru's kind of a little bit uncomfortable there, just not quite finding his rhythm when it comes to the headsets. But as you pointed out, Ben, it's time for white to go on the aggressive. We're expecting the knight to come out, attack the bishop. You can also start pawn storming on the right side of the board. He goes for that. Harry goes forward. Will it go even more? That is the mainstream move. Will we see that happening?
Put it in H4, H5. That's how they play chess nowadays. And in this position with the bishop already on E6, it might make sense for Hikaru well, I was going to say to move the bishop and play knight f4, but instead he sacrifices the h pawn, queen b3 attacking the b pawn. Boy, the engine really hates the move queen b3. Hikaru played queen b3 instantly and then made a funny face like he didn't like it. So I wonder if Hikaru's mixing up lines.
That's what I'm thinking as well. He's got his lines mixed up because black can actually take the advantage. And it's going to get really dicey if he picks up the g-pawn and attacks the bishop. If he plays that, okay, it hasn't happened. But that was the best move. And now the queen will just offering herself up for a trade. For Arjun, he wants a position with no danger where he can just make the moves super quickly. There's still a lot of danger in this position because it's not entirely clear which direction the black king is going to be headed.
That's right, and Hikaru sacrificed his h-pawn, so if black ever castles king side, the open h-line, dangerous. If black castles queen side, half of our viewers think that move is illegal, and it probably should be because of queen d6 at some point, because the rook is going through the b8 square. But I'm here to tell you, in case Arjun does castle queen side, it's perfectly legal. It's not the rook going through the attack square, it's the king. So you can castle either way. You can't do it now because your knight on e7 is attacked. And Arjun wants to trade queens. He is up a pawn, wants to play queen b4. Hikaru's queen is almost trapped over there on a3. Doesn't really have time for queen d6 because the b2 pawn needs babysitting. So this looks like Arjun's doing well out of the opening. He stops queen b4 the only way he can with bishop to d6. Knight c8, trying to get rid of white's two bishops. Is Hikaru going to give the two bishops back? How does Hikaru try to get an advantage from this position?
Exactly.
So far, opening has been in Arjun's favor.
It has, and Arjun is doing everything by the book. When your king is in trouble, try and trade off queens. And look at that, the bishop is right there in black's camp, and Arjun is driving that bishop backwards. And this is fantastic technique. And Hikaru now has to show us why he has compensation for that missing pawn. It's not going to be easy. I mean, is he going to go on the offensive, move the knight, attack the queen? He goes castles. He castles queenside, but you can just simply take that bishop, get rid of that horrible piece, and then you can even castle yourself, or you can try and drive out that queen.
Yeah, this doesn't look like Hikaru has enough compensation for a pawn. It seems like he believes the same thing. He's pretty unhappy. Black can legally castle queenside now, no matter what my students think about that. Black could also play queen b4, trying to kick the queen out. I don't see enough compensation for white for the missing h-pawn. So it looks like Arjun's doing really well. The best Hikaru could hope for is to get an equalish kind of position, but he's still going to be down a pawn, and he has to give the draw odds. Hikaru needs to win.
Hikaru has to win, you know, there's no doubt about it. He is the rule of the game. It's Armageddon. The queen is going to be driven backwards. Okay, now he has to go all in, and he does it. He's just breaking out into the center, and now there is pressure in the position. The temperature is rising because Arjun, where's he going to go with his king? And next question, should he capture in the middle? I don't think so. That's simply going to be improving the white knight. So instead, I think that now is the time to take it easy. Oh, there's no take it easy move, Ben.
No, there's not. Yeah, Arjun never takes it easy anyway. The only thing he takes it easy with is his heart rate. When he's playing chess, he likes to play the most tactical, complicated line that he's calculated, as Hikaru likes to do now too. I think Hikaru did a good job after misplaying the opening of trying to get some position where he has compensation for a pawn. Arjun leaves his rook on h8, since white has the rook on h1 on the open file. He's going to put his king on g7, get his queen rook over to the center, and say, okay, Hikaru, I'm a pawn up. I got draw odds. What you got?
Yeah, and he has one thing. He's got pressure down the E line. It's going to be the knight jumping in. The rook is going to come up and line against the bishop. That is Hikaru's target. That is the spot. And suddenly there is a big trouble on the horizon for Arjun as he has to navigate that. Maybe he can step up with his king, cover some weak points, and the black knight can go on the defensive. He goes for it. Oh, this is getting ropey. It's not the kind of position you want to be playing as black. Feeling the pressure, and your clock only 4 minutes and 10 seconds.
No, the first 10 moves of the game, advantage Arjun. The last 5 moves of the game, advantage Hikaru. He's getting counterplay. His lead on the clock is becoming imminent. He's looking really good. He's got pressure against Arjun's king. All 3 results are possible. Very interesting Armageddon type of game. Hikaru knew when he was down a pawn, he had to do something crazy to get compensation. Queen f6, the engine hates it. It says Hikaru is close to winning now by just taking the bishop on e6 and attacking the black king.
Yeah, but that's such a computer move. Knight takes bishop is definitely seeable, but the whole aspect that this rook landing on the 4th row, protecting everything and getting ready to harass the black queen, that is deep. That is so deep. No is going to go for it. He's thinking, shall we show exactly why it's so good?
Yeah, let's have a look at what can happen in this game. White can play knight takes e6, rook e4, defending the pawn on d4 from the queen's attack, preparing to double rooks on the e line, and also rook f4 attacking the queen. So I'm going to make some random moves to show you one of the tricks that we have. If he plays queen e7 here, sometimes we can sacrifice on g6 or h7. The engine says rook g4, for example. White has tremendous pressure on black's king. White's threatening rook takes g6 check, winning immediately. Let's blunder with knight f6. I was blundering before these players were born. I know how to blunder. And white finishes in a checkmate, and Arjun's key would get crushed. So black has to defend, defend, defend. He doesn't have a lot of time on the clock. He has to play knight f8. And will Hikaru see this, doing the rook lift and attacking? And he doesn't. Instead of moving the rook up and doing a rook lift, attacking g6 and e6, he moves his queen up to c7, attacking on the left side of the board.
And that was supernatural, I gotta say, jumping in with the queen, lifting up with the rook, inviting everyone to the party. Well, that's just something that the all-seeing eye, the computer, is very capable of finding. For us humans, a little bit more tricky. You need a bit more time on the clock. But as the rook comes to defend, well, now Hikaru has found a target, and it has the name of the e-pawn. And how is Arjun gonna defend that one? It is falling apart for Arjun.
Yeah, e6 is hanging, the knight on d7 is pinned, b7 pawn is hanging, the black king on g7 is permanently under attack. Advantage Hikaru. Hikaru not only winning on the board now, still has a big time advantage. Hikaru outplaying Arjun this game. The pressure is getting to Arjun. His heart rate's already above 70. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Arjun now on the brink because he cannot defend that pawn on e6. But look at that. That pawn was the only blockader of the rook on the e-line, and things are going from bad to worse as we are seeing that the white rook can slide over, attack the queen. You do have to calculate what's going to happen after some checks, but it is now. All systems go for Hikaru. Can he do it? Can he find the right continuation?
He does. Rook d1.
He finds it. Okay, now the only thing for Arjun to keep prolonging the game is to give a check to the white king. And you see, Hikaru, before he became one of the world's defensive players, he was one of the world's best attackers. And here, this is him in his element. Give a check. King hides to the corner, and now the pressure is on how to defend that knight. If you go rook takes bishop, you're giving up the rook. He has
But he has to do it. He has to give an exchange away. And now Hikaru has a winning material advantage. But it's only a small material advantage. It's a rook for a knight and a pawn. Problem is, Black's king is just really badly placed. Hikaru consolidating, defending his f-pawn, wants to play queen h6 check and bring the other rook to d8 to continue the attack. Arjun prevents queen h6 by playing h5. And if somehow Arjun can trade queens, he might have some drawing chances in the endgame. But even the endgame is losing with the rook being better than the knight. So winning material advantage for Hikaru, winning on the clock, and so far looking like Hikaru might go through to the next round.
Exactly, and Hikaru on the cusp of eliminating Arjun Erigaisi, again with fantastic technique, swapping off rooks. And we're seeing Arjun just has to roll the dice, just hope for the best, advancing the kingside pawns, and now the king is just going to step up. Arjun, if he can survive, it's going to be all about trading off queens.
Yeah, the one bad thing about Arjun's position, other than he's losing on the board, is because of the bid, his clock situation is really poor. He does have draw odds, so the game's not over. King a1, Hikaru tucks his king away. Arjun's king looks relatively safe now behind all of his pawns. And the question is, how does black break through? Well, how does white break through? Will Hikaru trade queens and move his rook to the 7th, or keep the queens on because black's king is on g6? I think he's going to keep the queens on.
Exactly. You always judge whether you want to be trading off queens depending on king safety. Black's king not safe at all. So look at this lovely move, eyeballing the pawn on b7, and that's it for Arjun. He has to, again, take a decision where to go. The problem is that the rook is so mobile. This position is so open. The rooks and queens, they are in their element. The queen steps up, and now what's to stop the rook coming up? Get the rook onto the 7th.
I want to take on b7. I like taking on b7. No, he doesn't do either one.
Okay.
Repeats the position, but just one time.
Just one time, and he improves the queen a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know why he didn't take the pawn on b7 or come up with the rook, but he starts to just get those pieces into their prime squares. Queen has to move, and
Hikaru better be careful. There's perpetual checks against his king. His king is getting pretty closed off.
yeah.
So Hikaru has to be careful. Hikaru with 3 minutes on the clock. Arjun only 1 minute and 12. Anything can still happen. Hikaru should win, but he still has to have good technique. Arjun's not making it easy, Ovi.
No, he's not making it easy, and at least he gets in a check and comes in with the king. And suddenly, this is not as easy because knight is the king's best friend. And hell, look at this. Beautiful, beautiful stuff there from Arjun, sidelining the white rook. And now I feel like Hikaru has to start all over again.
No, he's making faces like he doesn't like what's going on.
No, I can understand that. Because there's also the queen is going to drop up. Whoa, I've never seen that. That's such a gutsy move. Coming in.
It doesn't like it, but we like it. The king goes to g3. Where's Nigel Short when you need him? The king walking up the board, attacking on the king's side. So black is playing on both sides of the board. The king wants to go to g3 and take the g2 pawn. The queen wants to go to c4 and get perpetual check. Hikaru has to stop everything.
Well, he's really going bold with his king. He's saying the safest place is in my opponent's side of the board, but that's such a risky strategy. I think now he has to trade off queens. I mean, if you move the knight, the c-pawn is going to be falling, and so the queens do come off. This is what Arjun had in mind. The question is, does he have enough time? Because this is going to be a race. To move the knight, you can take the pawn, and then you're going to have to take the pawn on a4. So black's pawns are going to be disappearing from the left, and it's going to be all about the h-pawn for Arjun. So exciting here. 43 seconds for Arjun left on the clock.
Yeah, the question is, can Arjun win the g2 pawn and get that h4 pawn down to h1? Hikaru calculating. The times are getting closer to equal now. Hikaru less than a minute ahead on the clock. Hikaru trying to figure out everything all the way to the end. He stops black from playing king g3 by playing rook c5. Doesn't want him to play king g3 and take the pawn on g2. Here comes the black knight. Now he could take the pawn on c4.
Exactly. Now you can take it with good conscience because there's no way the black king is coming in to snap up those pawns. He does that, the king has to step back, and now you can grab the other pawn. There's nothing to stop Hikaru from taking that pawn. He doesn't even bother. It's all about promoting the pawn. That A pawn is going to be a killer. Be careful because there are some knight checks.
Yeah, that A pawn's too strong. The times are getting close to equal now, but Hikaru's A pawn is too strong. Arjun doesn't have a passed pawn. Both players know that white's winning. They're just going to play it out in case there's a blunder or black's H pawn becomes strong. Seems like every move wins. The A pawn's too strong. The H pawn can be stopped by the rook.
And the
and it's
person
just checkmate. The queen and rook will give checkmate to the black king. Well, eventually Arjun did make a queen, but he'll get checkmated instead. Queen g6 mate.
And
Hikaru wins. The crowd was right, 87%. They knew what was going on.
Wow, needing to win on demand. Hikaru strikes again. What a game. Sacrificing a pawn in the opening to take the initiative and then just putting Arjun under relentless pressure. What a game.
That was amazing. The game didn't start out very well for Hikaru, but as soon as they got to move 10 or 15, Hikaru took over. Arjun made a couple of